Hi, this is Michael Buffer, and welcome to the BoxHard Podcast.
Hello, everyone. This is Mikey Garcia.
This the monster from the swamps, Regis Rougarou Prograis.
Hey, what's up? This is King Carlos Molina, former IBF world champ.
This is Michael, the Bounty Hunter, 2012 Olympian and your people's champ.
This is Charlie Edwards, flyweight champion of the world.
This is Fast Eddie Chambers, and you're listening to the BoxHard Podcast with my main man, Joey Coastman.
Hello everybody and welcome to episode 295 of the BoxHard Podcast. I'm your host Joey Coastman. I'm joined as ever by the main man, Mr. Fast Eddie Chambers. Eddie, how you doing, my man?
I'm good, my man. How about you?
Always good when speaking with you. So, this is another episode 295. Of course, we're going to get into the reviewing in just a few seconds. We're going to have two guests once again. It was going to be three at one point, then it's not looking really like the third one's going to happen. But you never know on this show. It could end up happening late on. As it stands, two guests that we have at the minute, both undefeated. One prospect, one reigning world champion. We will get to that later on, but let's start though with the review part of the show. We're going to start here in Morelos in Mexico at the Hotel Holiday Inn. One fight to mention from last Friday. It took place over here. David Lemieux, now 43-4. A TKO in the second round against David Zagara, who's now 34-5. Didn't watch that fight, but that's the result there. Moving out now to St. Petersburg, Russia. Over here, Fedor Chudanov, former world champion, now 24-2 with a draw. A unanimous decision over 12 rounds against Rhino Liebenberg. The teak tough, not really at that top level. It was expected there, I think. Chudanov with the win, like I say. Liebenberg now 21-8 with a draw. That one was for the WBA Gold World Super Middleweight title. Not even sure what that belt even is. Anyway, Liebenberg was down in the 9th round, just to throw that in there. On the undercard of that, by the way, Mikhail Aloyem returned to the ring. He's now 6-1. A retirement win for him after 8 rounds when his opponent, Alexander Hryshuk, who now has a record of 16-5, retired on his stall at the end of the 8th. Like I say, Aloyan now 6-1. That one loss came to Zolani Tete in the World Boxing Super Series. That one was also for a WBA Gold Super Flyweight title. Moving out now to the Sheffield Arena car park. Over here, it literally was in a car park. We had the return of former British welterweight champion Bradley Skeet, friend of the show, one of the good guys. He's now 29-3. It took him only 3 rounds to get Dow Arrowsmith out of there. Dow Arrowsmith, a journeyman, everyone knows that. You know, his record's now 2 wins, 42 losses and a draw. But Bradley Skeet becomes only the 5th guy to stop him, so he's usually quite hard to get out of there, but he did it in 3 rounds. Quite impressive, especially after coming off 2 years out. And on the undercard, John Fuchs, coming off a 7-year layoff, got in there against Jordan Granum and won every round against him. Granum, another journeyman, 5-74 with 2 draws. John Fuchs now 22-2 with 2 draws. In his time out, he, like I say, was the trainer of Kell Brook for a while, I think 1 fight. Moving out now to Germany, Ajit Kabayel, now 21-0, a unanimous decision win over 12 rounds against Kevin Kingpin Johnson. That one was for the WBA Continental Heavyweight title. Johnson, do you know what, Eddie? You're going to probably have something to say on this. Johnson's record now, 35 wins, 18 losses and a draw. I know that, you know, he's well past it now, and he is such a tough guy, so hard to stop. But I just, you know, I like Kevin Johnson. When you hear him speak, he's a nice guy. He's a funny guy. He's charismatic. He speaks well. He's a good speaker. He's a good talker. Always has been. I think he likes to play the piano. He's a colourful guy. But I don't really want to see him keep turning up and losing not losing every round, because he didn't lose every round here. It was wide in the end, and he came to give it a go. And I think he was coming off a win last time out. But, you know, I don't want to see him getting like brain damage or something from turning into a heavyweight journeyman, because there aren't many heavyweight journeymen, and that's for a reason. You can't stick around long, you know, getting hit in the head. And he gets hit in the head a hell of a lot. And once upon a time, he truly was a top contender. It's such a fall from grace, if you like, from where he is now. And I don't want it to carry on too long.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. 100%. I remember Kevin he used to talk a little crap on me, you know what I mean, when he was at his height, you know, on his way up. But he's a great character even now. He's still a real cool guy and everything. But to continue to see him going downhill like that, now I know for him it may be he's chasing something in his mind that he wants to chase, but after a while it starts to look bad. It looks, you know, as you start thinking of Roy Jones and how great of a fighter Roy Jones was at his height, and you think about all of these fights now recently that he had and how he's looked, and you know what I'm saying, and it kind of destroys his legacy for some people, because some of these younger people don't know him as Roy Jones the Great, because they never see him at that time, you know? So, you know, I'm looking at Kevin Johnson now. Kevin Johnson never reached that level. You know what I mean? He was, you know, a good fighter. A lot of people know him and respected him. But now it's just starting to look, you know, it's getting a little out of line. You know what I mean? It's getting to the point where even if he does win, now if he goes and fights some cans and beats some guys and, you know, just wants to beef the record up or maybe retire on a win, that's fine. But to keep on going and pounding against your head, you know what I mean, with these big guys and taking chances is just not worth it. You know what I mean? I would like to see him walk away with all his faculties, you know?
Yeah, absolutely, and I agree 100%. What you said brought me on to two other things. Roy Jones is looking like he will be back in an exhibition in Mexico against Carlos Molina. We shall see. That's what's being spoken about right now behind the scenes. And in other news, you talk about, you know, those young people that don't know how good Roy Jones was, and these kind of fights that he had towards the end diminish his legacy, diminish his I guess legacy is the right word, really. You know, that is, I'm sure, something we're going to get onto, because Eddie Hearn said something that I thought was really clever after watching the Mayweather fight. You know, young kids are going to watch that fight and go, "What? This guy is the best ever?" You know, if you've never seen him fight before. Oh boy, we'll get to that though. Moving out now to the Telford International Centre in Shropshire, United Kingdom. Over here, on the undercard, Tommy Fury, now 6-0. He took on an undefeated fighter for the first time, Jordan Grant, who was 2-0. I think there was a lot of backlash after they announced Tommy Fury's original opponent, which I think he only had losses. I think it was like double-figure losses somewhere. Anyways, he gets in with Jordan Grant. Not everyone felt he deserved to win the fight. I don't think anyone actually thought he deserved to lose, but there were some people calling that it should have been a draw. It was over 4 rounds. It's very, very easy to have scores all over the place over 4 rounds. He was, it seemed like, I don't want to say hurt, but certainly caught in the first round. I missed the fight, to be honest. I only saw little clips of it, but he's 6-0. I'm pleased for him. Elsewhere on the card, we had a win for Nathan Heaney. He's now 12-0. I think he did quite well to get Ilya Markov out of there in 3 rounds. It was a body shot. Markov now 6-15 with 2 draws, and topping that bill, Daniel Dubois. The return for him, it was for the vacant WBA interim heavyweight world title, God knows how, but he's now 16-1, a KO in the second round against Bogdan Dinu, who's now 20-3. Dinu was knocked out by a right hand early on in the second round. I think the first round he kind of came to give it a go, Dinu, and very quickly, as soon as he tasted the power in the second round, he stayed down. I think he could have got back up, but he didn't fancy it, which was really nice for me, because I had a couple bets that the fight was only going to last 2 rounds, and it was over very quickly in the second. But yeah, as expected, to be honest, Bogdan Dinu, it's a good comeback fight, a good confidence booster for Daniel Dubois, and he gets him out of there quicker than anyone else has. I think he was knocked out in 4 by Jarrell Big Baby Miller and knocked out in 7 by Pulev, so bit of a statement in some ways. But yeah, good to see the big man back. All the best to Daniel Dubois. Moving out now, though, to the Hard Rock Stadium in Miami, Florida. This one was the Mayweather-Paul fight. We're going to talk about the main event. I cannot believe it, but we are going to talk about the main event in a minute. But starting with the undercard, Badou Jack moved to 24-3 with 3 draws, a TKO in the 4th round against the previously undefeated Dervin Kalina, who stepped in at late notice, 15-0. I think he was from Argentina. Down 3 times, he had 2 points deducted for fouls. The referee was straight on his case for holding. Yeah, Badou Jack, I didn't think he was going to get him out of there within 4 rounds. I thought that could have even gone to points, to be honest. But good win for him, but still not sure how good Kalina was. Elsewhere on the undercard, a very underwhelming performance by Jarrett Hurd, former 154 world champion. He's now 24-2. A split decision loss over 10 rounds to Luis Arias, friend of the show. I was really pleased for Arias. He certainly stole the show. He's now 19-2 with a draw. He was down in the 9th round, Arias, as well, so he had a 10-8 round scored against him, even though it looked like it was a slip, because there was a lot of water in the middle of the ring. The referee stopped it a few times for this random guy to come in with a towel and try and dry up the surface. But bizarre performance from Hurd. And like I was saying before we went on air, Eddie, I had £100 bet, and all I needed to happen on this accumulator bet was that Hurd would win the fight by any method, and he was massive to win the fight in terms of the bookies and the numbers. You had to put £20 down just to win £1 back. That's how sure they were that Hurd would win. And I think Hurd was coming off about 18 months out the ring, something like that. But Arias, I think, was coming off about 23 months out the ring. So I think Arias was definitely coming off longer layoff, a longer amount of time out the ring. I think 5 months more than Hurd. But yeah, Arias boxed really well. Hurd was awful. His defense was non-existent, like it, to be honest, has been for a lot of his career, but never this bad. And the way he was being hurt, it seemed, he was getting tagged way too cleanly. Luis Arias was out hustling him on the inside. He was all over Hurd at distance. Whenever Hurd had it at distance, he failed to capitalize on anything, and he just couldn't impose his size on Arias. And Arias was super tired towards the end of the fight, but he could not do anything, Hurd, and his punches were like tip-tap kind of shots. It was really, really frustrating watching the fight unfold. But like I say, really, really pleased for Luis Arias, who hasn't had a great career. I remember when he was with Mayweather Promotions, and they got rid of him without really telling him, and I think he turned up at the gym with a cell phone, tried to take a video of Floyd getting out of the car, going into the gym, and he's saying, Floyd, why have you let me go out the contract? What's going on? And Floyd's ignoring him, and everyone's telling Arias to go away, and it was really kind of weird the way that they parted ways, and he went about his business on his own, racked up a couple of losses, hasn't really looked like he's going to do anything at the top level, but this win by far is the best win of his career. Like I say, really pleased for him. He stole the show. And the main event, I cannot believe we're talking about it, but Logan Paul against Floyd Mayweather. Do you know what? I had a little bit of a Twitter back and forth with a friend of the show, a guy that I like, Leon McKenzie, former pro fighter, former soccer player turned pro fighter. But anyways, basically we were having this kind of back and forth because I tweeted that Floyd, some people say Floyd let McGregor have success early in an attempt to tire McGregor out and stop him late. Okay, I've got no problem with that statement, but here tonight he fought a YouTuber that he tried to knock out from round 3 onwards, and he didn't even hurt the guy. And that was what it was. Logan Paul came out, trying to give it a go for the first 2 rounds, and then he completely shot his load. He wasn't sitting down in between rounds. He was like kind of stretching over the ropes. He was really tired. And Mayweather went on the front foot and tried to knock him out from round 3. And like I say, from round 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, couldn't hurt him at all. He hit him with a couple of good shots. And in the end, Eddie, I don't know if you've seen the punch stats, right?
Yeah, I didn't see him, no.
Okay, so I'm going to give you the punch stats actually here. This is quite unbelievable when you hear this. So, okay, so Floyd Mayweather threw 14 jabs in 8 rounds. He threw 93 power shots. So all in all, he threw 107 punches.
What?
Yeah. Logan Paul threw 73 jabs against Floyd's 14. Logan Paul threw 144 power shots against Floyd's 93. And that brings Logan Paul's total punches thrown to 217 against Mayweather's 107. So he pretty much outthrew him by more than double. Horrendous, and really embarrassing, to be honest with you, because like we said, people will watch that and go, what, this guy's the best boxer ever, and wow, it was embarrassing. And I don't want to see Floyd in a ring ever again, any kind of ring, to be honest with you. For any exhibitions or anything. He should have knocked the guy out very, very quickly. It doesn't matter about size. This is the thing that me and Leon McKenzie couldn't see eye to eye on. He was trying to tell me, he's 41, and I'm saying, but he's not a normal 41. He's not a guy who has took punishment, is washed up, took a load of losses. This guy lives and eats clean. He's a young 41, if he's even 41. Maybe he's 40. I can't remember now. However old he is, he's not his age. He's an incredibly fit guy, and just because Logan Paul is taller than him by 6 inches and outweighs him by 35 pounds, I think it was, that doesn't mean that Floyd can't knock him out. The guy is only just finding out how to block a punch. Like this, the depth in. The gap in class, the gap in skills, the gap in experience, it didn't matter about size. What would someone like Nonito Donaire have done to Jake Paul? I think he'd have knocked him spark out. So I don't really understand what Leon McKenzie was what point he was trying to make. We just couldn't see eye to eye. But I like Leon, but we just didn't agree on that. That was all. I don't know. What do you think, Eddie? I mean, there's... Yeah. Forget what I say. Go on.
No. My thing is, a guy 35 pounds heavier is obviously a lot of weight, but I've dealt with that several times in my career. Now,
but I'm trying to say, sorry to cut you off, Eddie. I just want to say that 35 pounds at heavyweight, I understand, is completely different. I understand that. If you're fighting, if you're 240 and you're fighting a guy who's 275 or whatever. I understand that's not as significant as a guy who is 147, or in this case, I think for the fight he was 152 or something. I think Floyd was something like that. But I understand that's a bigger difference.
It is, but the smaller you get, obviously the more. So me being 205 fighting a guy that was 244, that, especially with the height, that makes a difference. That really does make a difference. But with all that being said, I was able to compete with guys that were elite, you know what I'm saying, and were that much bigger than me. So when I look at Floyd, I'm figuring, well, him being 190 pounds versus Floyd being, or even if he was 200 pounds versus Floyd being 155, I mean, I think it's almost like a fair fight. You understand what I'm saying? In a sense, because Logan Paul has the size, he has all that stuff on him, and Floyd has, of course, the experience, the level of the power, the skill, everything. in his favor. However, as much as when you look at the age, and you factor all those things in, I'm not saying it. I'm not trying to make any excuses for Floyd. I'm just saying that he's not going to be as good as he was. However, it won't take a Floyd as good as he was to beat a Logan Paul. I don't know about the knockout thing because as much as it's hard for people to understand sometimes, but it's not easy to knock a person out. It's not. Like, it may seem like it's easy to knock a person out if they don't know anything. You know what I mean? Anything. You know what I'm saying? But it's not easy when you're in there fighting another fighter to knock them out, especially with that big weight disparity. Now, granted, I feel like Floyd still could have. I feel like Floyd, if like, he stayed to the body. But if he would have got in there and threw more punches, I didn't even know that was the amount of punches he threw. Oh, my gosh. Yeah. He would have had to be a little bit busier knowing that he's fighting a guy that's a little bit bigger or a lot bigger. He's going to have to put punches together and maybe overwhelm him. But it's just kind of like a shock to hear that he only threw, how many punches? Was it 107?
Wow. It was, I think it was 107, yeah.
That's unbelievable. And I just feel like Floyd is supposed to be Floyd. I get it, it's not going to be the same. You know, at the end of the day, I don't think he trained like he would train for a real fight. You know what I mean? I think he just really didn't care much what he did. I mean, probably hit the pads a little, probably did, working out. He was saying he was working out like 3 times a week. I can believe that, because obviously with the performance and the effort put in, just wasn't, it just wasn't what you expect from a Floyd Mayweather fight. You know what I mean? Or Floyd Mayweather in general. But
see, you say this. I mean, Ishe Smith went on Twitter afterwards and said you could look at Floyd's body and tell he didn't train. That's what he said. However, I can't name any names, but I've spoken to one person who is a close friend of mine that has been in the gym with Floyd. I think or maybe 2 weeks ago, and he said he's never seen anyone work out the way Floyd worked out. Like, it was incredible. So that goes the other way. That's a complete counter statement. And then also someone else I know was telling me that they've never seen, this is someone else as well who lives in Vegas, they were telling me that they've never seen Floyd work out for any fight the way he worked out for this one. So I'm hearing completely conflicting statements, but from people that have seen him working out. I know Ishe Smith was obviously part of the team and stuff like that, and he said what he said based on what he saw with his eyes about Floyd's body. But apparently Floyd took this really seriously, and he didn't even really want to give an interview before the fight on the fight night, until he was talked into it. He was taking it really seriously, and it was embarrassing because he really did go for it, Eddie. I know you haven't seen the fight, but he was hitting on the break. He was loading up with shots, like, so aggressive. He was, left hooks. He was throwing lead left hooks. He was hitting him in the body with everything he had. He was fighting a little bit dirty at times, He was desperate to get him out of there. He just couldn't do it, and that's what made it so kind of embarrassing for boxing, like, this guy's come in here with no boxing skills and gone the distance, gone 8 rounds, and he was absolutely spent after 2 rounds, Eddie, and he managed to hang in there for another 6.
I understand, but Floyd, even for his weight, wasn't a puncher. So even though he's fighting a guy who's inexperienced, maybe not the best at taking shots, is bigger, it's harder. It's not as easy to knock up. I told you, it's not as easy as it may seem. You know what I mean? To get the guys out of there, especially one that's just trying to survive. You know what I mean? And he was trying to survive, from what I understood. I didn't really watch any of it, so I can't really, say I know he was holding a lot. As far as, they were saying he was holding, he would throw a couple jabs and hold or something like that. But, like, to me, all it just showed how old Floyd is now. How much he really, now I'm not saying he didn't train hard when he was in the gym, but that doesn't mean that he was training like he was getting ready for a serious fight. And I don't know how serious he was about this if he fought the way he did. You know what I mean? Maybe he got in there and figured out that the kid was a little stronger or a little better than he thought. And then maybe then he's like, man, let me just try to get this guy, or figure out a way to get this guy there so I don't look too bad. he could have been trying to do it that way, and that could have been the issue. But Floyd, and even Floyd at 40, and I think he's 44 now. Floyd at 39 or 40 would have. I mean, I don't even know if he. Honestly, I really can't say, because Floyd's style is not. He especially these last how many years he's been fighting, he ain't been trying to get nobody out of it. You know what I'm saying? That's just, and then he tries to do it. It's really out of his character, especially of late. I don't know. I'm not making excuses for him at all. You know what I mean? A fight is a fight. You know what I mean? That's why it's time. That's why when you look like he did in this fight, from what I'm hearing from people, that means it's time to retire. You know what I'm saying? There's been, like I said, look at Roy. Look how many times he fought when he was way past it, getting knocked out by guys that couldn't carry his jockstrap in the suitcase.
I know, Eddie, but they were fighters.
Regardless of whether they were fighters or not, if Roy Jones fought, like he fought, I remember he fought this guy that was like I don't know, he won a pool or something so he could fight Roy Jones, and Roy ended up knocking him out. Yeah, they were also the same weight too. You know what I'm saying? This is a different thing. I'm telling you, if you ever got in there with somebody that was a lot bigger than you, even if they're not as skilled, it's going to take twice the effort. I know for a fact. I mean, I've dealt with it. I've been in there with guys who weren't quite as good as me. Well, not quite. I'm going to say we're nowhere near as good as me. But because they were, matter of fact, I got one on YouTube right now. It's funny, Joe, you brought it up one time we were talking about it. That guy doesn't really have any boxing skills, but he's about 6'5", about 250. I was about 6'1", 210 or something when I fought him, and he went the distance. He's actually a fighter. He actually been in the ring with a few different guys.
Yeah, but
I couldn't get him out.
Yeah, but he's a fighter. He's been in with a few guys. This is Logan Paul, who lost to a YouTuber.
I am not.
There's no way we can dress this up. It was just downright embarrassing for the sport.
It was bad. It was bad for Floyd. It was bad. It was bad in the sense that he shouldn't have done it if he was going to be the way he was.
And I also heard, Eddie, that like he was going to school Logan Paul, he was going to stop him, and he was going to look really good, and it was going to build for a second fight with Jake Paul. And therefore Floyd would get 2 paydays, the brothers would get a payday each. Could you imagine the build-up for that fight against Jake Paul if he looked really good and knocked Logan Paul out in front of all those YouTube kids that would have been watching it, staying up late, you know?
It wouldn't have happened. I don't think Logan, if he beats Logan Paul up like that, unless, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if he looked that good and beat up on Logan Paul. I don't know that Jake Paul would have wanted to take the chance.
I don't know. Jake Paul's not trying to, he's not trying to, I don't think, carve out a great boxing resume. He's here for the money. And the money for that fight would have been worth taking that ass whooping he'd have got. Well, saying that, I'm not so sure based on what I saw from Floyd the other night.
I don't think Floyd wants to do that shit. You know why, yo? Listen, let me tell you, you're sitting on your couch. Well, I ain't saying Floyd been sitting on the couch, but you know what I mean. You've been basically just going around, enjoying your life, eating, whatever, doing whatever, drinking. I'm not saying Floyd eats and drinks whatever all the time, but I know he does sometimes. He's a human being. And then all of a sudden, you turn off all those feelings toward fighting, off. You know what I mean? They're not really. I'm just telling you from experience what I'm dealing with. And all of a sudden now somebody says, you got this guy that's challenging you, and you think you could possibly make another 8-figure payday. And then all those feelings you had toward boxing, you know what I mean? Like a lot of those, that animal that comes out, you know what I'm saying? Like as a fighter, you know what I'm talking about. You would know what I'm talking about. And, just as an athlete in general, once you get to a certain point, it's all about fun. It's all about relaxing, especially when you got money like Floyd, and you don't really have to have that edge. You know what I'm saying? I don't think he has the edge. I don't think that's really what it is. It's like if he got in the gym seriously, maybe for 6 months, got a couple little easy fights under his belt, or a easy fight or something under his belt. Obviously, like this would be considered one of them. But you know what I'm saying? To actually get back in there and compete again, then maybe he would actually get in there with somebody not necessarily an elite fighter, but somebody who's decent and actually look kind of like Floyd again. But because you turn this shit off, huh?
I don't think so.
I'm gonna tell you, and I can tell you, I can guarantee it to you. I would pay good money for this. I would bet anyone good money. If Floyd seriously got, the thing is, he's not willing to at this point. He's done with his career. You know what I'm saying? His skills couldn't have eroded so much that a guy like Jake Paul could beat him, or even get in the ring as last.
No. I don't think Jake Paul. I don't know. It sounds moronic. It sounds moronic to say that, but
it does.
But after what I saw, oh my lord.
No, but hear what I'm saying. His skills couldn't have eroded that much. That's not possible. He still can do it. The problem then becomes it's the mindset. I'm telling you, boxing and most sports in general are just almost it's 90% mental. The skill and all of that stuff, yeah, I mean, there's, that's a part of that 10%, or let's just say 80%. That rest of that 20% is skills and all that other stuff. But your mind plays a huge role. I'm telling you, as confident as Floyd was, and as great as a fighter as Floyd was, his mind, believe it or not, I don't care what no one says, he wasn't able to light the fire, like that switch. I'm telling you, I know what it's like. I've been in there and I've sparred and shit after like 8 months, and I still felt something. I still had a little something. There's been times I got in there after 2 weeks and I just like, man, I don't really feel like, you know what I'm saying? You don't feel like doing it. You know what I mean? It's just, sometimes it's hard. And with him, he's totally into the retirement thing. He doesn't feel like, I don't want to get my body beat on no more. You know what I mean? He don't want to start having those spells where he forgets shit. Now his mind my mind is going, I took too many punches, that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Those thoughts are in his head. He got kids. He's thinking about his daughter's graduation and all that shit. I'm telling you, his head's not in the right space to be fighting. That's why. I'm not making an excuse. This is not an excuse. This is the actual reason. He would have, at any point in his career before this, at any point, old or young, whatever, when people said Floyd was past it or whatever, he could have been off for, 6 months like he did and then came back and fought. He would have not, Jake Paul wouldn't have lasted it. He would have, not Jake Paul, Logan Paul. He would have got ate up. But I'm telling you, at this stage, his mind is not in it no more. I'm telling you, why do you think he said after the time, I doubt that I'm going to do this unless it makes crazy sense, like $74 million sense again. Maybe he'll do it then because it's like, okay, I'll take a chance. But the reality of it is, why when you already got all the money you need? You know what I'm saying? Just bow out like this and don't ruin your legacy.
All right. Well,
because his mind's not going to be in it. Go ahead.
I want to move on from this because it's tedious. But I swear to God, if I was Jake Paul watching that the other day, if I was Jake Paul, he's a little bit crazy. He's shown that he's taking boxing seriously. I don't dislike him like a lot of people do. I think he's okay. If he saw what happened the other day, he should be saying, let's have a real fight on the records, no exhibition. That would make me, I'd be licking my lips if I was him. I swear, that's how bad Floyd was. And that, I understand how stupid and retarded that sounds. I'm not trying to sound like an idiot. But that's how bad it was. No. I actually feel like I'm some kind of WWE fan, like talking fake BS. Like, that's how it was that bad. It was that bad. Honestly, he needs a walking stick and he needs banning from his own gym. It was so bad. Anyways.
Yeah, I know how it looks.
Anyways.
I'm just telling you from experience and from me watching people even older than Floyd fight. They look better than that. Just because they were in the right frame of mind. I'm telling you, okay. He's not in the right frame of mind.
Okay. But anyway, that's it for the review part of the show. Just before we wrap up part one, the final thing to do is to welcome our first guest on this week's podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome one of my very favourite fighters to speak to and to watch. It is, of course, the undefeated WBA Super-Lightweight World Champion, Mr. Mario Barrios. Mario, welcome back on the show, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. Always a pleasure being back on.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure having you on. So, Mario, first things first, we last caught up back in November after your win over Ryan Carl. It's been a while since then. How's things been?
Oh man, things have been great. Been out here in the Bay Area, getting ready, for the, big fight June 26th. But family's good. The team is out here. They're all good. They're all happy. And yeah, man, just putting in my work every day, just doing what I have to be prepared.
Absolutely. And your next fight, you mentioned it's been announced as part of this amazing Showtime boxing schedule. They announced the lineup back in April. You're boxing Gervonta Davis, June 26th in Atlanta. Firstly, tell me your thoughts on Gervonta as a fighter, Mario, a guy that you probably didn't really think you'd end up boxing a few years ago when he was down at, let's say, I don't know, super featherweight.
Yeah, no, I wasn't, expecting to hear his name getting brought up as an opponent for me. But, maybe Gervonta Davis is, he's a great fighter. He has had a lot of success, in, the lower divisions. But, now, he's coming up to fight me. And, it's a dangerous fight for him, but at the same time, he is a dangerous opponent. And, I know he's versatile. He has speed. He's very explosive. So this is going to be a very exciting fight.
And your last fight was on that Davis-Santa Cruz undercard where Davis scored probably the best knockout of 2020, that uppercut from hell. Did you see that fight from ringside?
I actually did not, man. Okay. I had been in camp for such a long time, and of course, the fight was back in San Antonio, my hometown. So as soon as I fought, as soon as I got the victory, I walked out of there. I got some mini tacos, and then I went straight home.
Okay, and I remember when we last spoke, I was telling you how impressed I was with your win over Batir Akhmedov. Akhmedov was obviously a southpaw. I think you would have learned more in that Akhmedov fight than in all of your other fights combined. Was that the perfect kind of fight needed, educational-wise, before stepping in against another dangerous southpaw like Davis?
Man, you're one of the few people that, that sees it that way, and that's exactly how, I've been looking at it, man. A lot of people, they'll bring up the Akhmedov fight as if it was something negative. And I'm like, man, like that fight, it happened at the perfect time, and I would honestly wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, perfect. And I agree. We're like Mario and Luigi, my friend. Don't worry about that. Gervonta, I think he's 5'5" and a half, I think they say. Some people, they feel he's too small for lightweight, let alone super lightweight. However, I guess it can be dangerous to believe in that statement too much. Do you feel he's too small for lightweight? Do you think that punch power that he has will carry up?
That's one of the main questions, not only from a lot of boxing fans, boxing media, but in preparation for this fight, we're going into this fight, with the mentality, that he's carrying his power, we're taking this fight, as all my other fights, and as he's a very dangerous opponent, so like I said, I'm doing whatever I have to be ready for whatever he brings come on the 26th.
And a win here would literally catapult you into another dimension in terms of worldwide recognition. They still talk about Gervonta as the heir to the Mayweather throne. If you win here, you crush those pay-per-view dreams. You take that O that they want him to keep until he's probably 49-0. Have you thought that far ahead, Mario?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's one of the biggest things that we liked about this fight, man. Whether I have been saying it, plenty of times, whether you like Davis or not, he has one of the biggest names in the sport. He has the type of name that even if you're not a boxing fan, you know who he is. So you're absolutely correct, man. I believe this is the type of fight that will catapult, my name, given we go out there and handle our business how we're planning to.
Yeah, for sure. And I also want to get your reaction to a fantastic fight that took place in your division, the undisputed fight, Taylor Ramirez. You know, it was a fight that we were, I think, including yourself, were all looking forward to. The fight played out, you know, really interestingly. It lived up to the expectation. What was your reaction to the fight? I'm sure you watched it.
Yeah. No, I definitely watched it. We watched it here with my team in camp. I thought, you know, Josh Taylor, you know, had an excellent performance. You know, shout out to Ramirez also, you know, who, you know, always goes in there and gives it his all. But you know, now we know there's a unified champion in my division. So I mean, you know, not looking past anything, you know, right now, you know, my eyes are set on Davis. But I mean, I would love a crack at Josh Taylor, you know, in the future.
And just finally, Mario, if you've got any closing words, the guys that I speak to over here in the UK, a hell of a lot of them want you to win this fight. They're behind you. What's your closing message to those guys and, of course, everyone else that's supporting you in this upcoming fight?
Oh, man, shout out to, you know, to everybody out there, you know, overseas, you know, whether it's the UK or, like I said, just anywhere overseas, man. I appreciate the support. You know, I have felt a lot of the love, especially, man, with this fight being announced and everything. And I mean, it's definitely appreciated. I mean, again, thank you, you know, for taking time out, you know, for talking to me again. It's always fun.
It is always fun. It is. But listen, Mario, you already know, like I say, it's always a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much for your time and best of luck for June 26th.
Appreciate you, Joey. You have a great day.
Okay, now it's time for part 2 on this week's show. This part, of course, the news part of the show. Not too much news to mention at the moment. Just a couple of things, I guess. Just one fight night that's been announced for July 10th, a Frank Warren show at the Royal Albert Hall. Over here we have Lyndon Arthur returning to the ring and Anthony Yarde returning to the ring. Not against each other, of course, but they're both having their first fight since the fight they had together. Anthony Yarde takes on 17-0 undefeated with 12 KOs Emin Atra. That's a non-title fight over 10 rounds there. And Lyndon Arthur, 18-0, of course, takes on the undefeated 15-0 David Ferracci, who has got 7 KOs. An Italian fighter there. On the undercard, we get to see Archie Sharp. Again, his fight against... I forgot the guy's first name, but his surname Souza. It was supposed to take place on the weekend just gone on that Dubois undercard, but Souza pulled out with coronavirus, and he's going to be back as soon as July 10th. Also on the card, the 20-0 undefeated friend of the show, Zach Parker, ranked number 1 in the middleweight. Is it in the super middleweight rankings, I mean, with the WBO. He's on that card as well. Exciting stuff there. Frank Warren card, July the 10th. If any other news develops from now to the end of the show, I will mention it on the outro. Starting now with the preview part, we're going to start here at the Sports Arena in Pico Rivera in California, USA. I don't know if you've heard about it or seen it, Eddie, but who do you think is returning to the ring after 10 years out of it? I'll give you a clue. A Mexican legend.
10 years?
Yep.
Marco Antonio Barrera?
You got it. Marco Antonio Barrera, 67-7, comes back in a 6-rounder against Jesus Soto Carras, who's 29-13 with 4 draws. Bizarre, right?
Wow, that is crazy.
Bizarre.
That's
going down. That's going down in California. Moving out now to Sinaloa, Mexico, a dangerous place over there. At the Auditorio Benito Juarez, we have Jose Uzcategui, 30-4. I'm not sure if the fight's still going ahead because he was penciled in to be boxing David Benavidez, I'm sure. I'm not sure what's going on there because I think they're supposed to be boxing in September and I've seen this fight pop up, so I'm not sure if he's having one before that or not, but it's not a good idea. So yeah, I'm not sure if that's going ahead, but I'm letting people know it is listed. Moving out now to the Eagles Community Arena in Newcastle, United Kingdom. This one's going to be on Sky, one of Matchroom's last events on Sky, if not the last event on Sky. I can't think of their forthcoming schedule, but one of the last events. Let's start with the undercard. We've got Ellie Scottney 2-0 against Vanessa Caballero, who's 4-9 with 3 draws. You've got the return of Joe Laws. He's 9-1. He takes on Nesta Maradiaga, who's 9-10 with 2 draws. Actually, I think he's had a... No, I thought he had an opponent change, maybe not. Elsewhere on the card, Solomon Dakers 1-0 in a 6-rounder against Alvaro Torrero, who's 5-11 with 2 draws. Alan Babbage gets in against Damian Chambers. No relation to Eddie. This man here, 11-1, the heavyweight from Preston, not far from Manchester, actually. Eddie. You didn't have any kids when you was over there, I don't think. No, I'm joking. He's 30. He's 32, so I don't think the math works out there. But anyways, also on the card, Thomas Patrick Ward, 29-0 with a draw in a 10-rounder against Edie Valencia Mercado, who's 17-5 with 6 draws. This honestly is one of the worst cards I've seen all year, by the way. The only good thing about this Edie Mercado is he's got 5 losses, never been stopped. But then again, Thomas Patrick Ward, only 4 knockouts in 29 wins anyway. So that one, if there's a price on points, that is free money there. And the main event, Lewis Ritson, 21-1, steps in against Jeremias Nicolas Ponce, who's 27-0 with 17 KOs. The Argentinian, the highest rated Argentinian fighter at 140. It's for the it's an IBF Super-Lightweight world title final eliminator. The winner of that fight there goes on to box. Well, certainly gets in line, gets in that long line of mandatories for Josh Taylor. Should he remain champion with all those belts, or will he drop one, or will he drop them all? We shall see. But yeah, Lewis Ritson, 21-1. All the best to him. It's over 12 rounds there. Not sure how good Ponce is. Like I say, 27-0 looks great, but you look down the record, no real noticeable names that jump out to me straight away. I'm going to do a little bit of homework on that. Could be an upset. We shall see. Moving out now to the final card to mention. It takes place at the Virgin Hotels Las Vegas in Nevada, USA. Over here, and some people don't know this, if you're listening in the UK, Sky have now done a deal with Top Rank. So this fight will be live on Sky. Amazing for UK boxing fans that love the US cards. We're going to get all of Top Rank's content in the subscription, of course. So on this card, we're going to start with the undercard. A really good fight, actually, between Jose Pedraza, who's one of my favourite fighters at 140, if he's still at that weight now. He takes on Julian Rodriguez, who's undefeated, 21-0. Now, the thing about Pedraza is, I've noticed he's an underdog for this fight, which is quite surprising to me. He's still a good fighter, really good fighter. Julian Rodriguez, though, young, 26 years of age, 14 KOs. I think he was quite a decent amateur. He's the guy on the rise, and like I say, he's the favourite, quite heavy. I think he was quite heavy. So interesting stuff there, because I think Pedraza is certainly not done. Only got the 3 losses: Zepeda, Lomachenko. Both of those on points as well, and then the other loss to Gervonta Davis, when he became champion that night there. So yeah, really good fight. And the main event, of course, a really, really interesting one. I'm really looking forward to this one. We've got Shakur Stevenson, one of the most charismatic fighters in the sport, 15-0. It's for the WBO Interim World Super Featherweight title. Friend of the show, Shakur Stevenson, he takes on the other friend of the show, the guy that was on a couple weeks ago, the Namibian policeman and pub owner. His record 21-1, Jeremiah Nakafila. Now, what I like about this is when I spoke to Nakafila, he made it clear that he's very, very confident. He expects to knock Shakur Stevenson out. He tells me it won't go the distance. Shakur won't hear the 12th round, he tells me. Big guy for the weight, 17 KOs in his 21 wins. His one loss came on the road in Russia, a majority decision to a Russian in Russia. You know what that means. So he still thinks he's undefeated. Could be really good, could be really interesting, because it's hard to get clips of Jeremiah Nakafila. He doesn't post much on social media. His nickname is Low Key. He says that he likes to keep things really secretive. He didn't even want to tell me the guys he sparred in the past. It's a big, big secret. So he is quite an unknown quantity, even to people that try to get to know him. He's very secretive. Like I say, massive for the weight. Really big for the weight. And you've got Shakur Stevenson, who seems to be running around lately trying to do a Shannon Briggs to Jamel Herring. I think he turned up in the restaurant and tried to shout at him and stuff like that when Jamel was eating his food, and his mind seems like it's in a different place. He wants the Herring fight. He cannot afford to overlook this guy here, even though he's a huge favourite, an absolute huge favourite. We shall see, though. Really looking forward to that one. It's basically two undefeated fighters fighting each other there. One full of talent, the other huge unknown quantity, and he's hungry. He's from Namibia. It's a place that doesn't have much boxing success. He wants to do it and celebrate in his pub afterwards, I'm sure, with his new belt. Let's see. Again, that's going to be shown live on Sky Sports Saturday night / Sunday morning. So definitely set it up to tape, set it up to record if you're not going to stay up. If you're not a hardcore, I'll certainly be staying up. But anyway, that's it for the preview part of the show. Like I say, in part one, we had the review part of the show. We had our first guest. In part two, we've just done the news part and the preview part. The final thing for me to do is to welcome our second and final guest. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the undefeated lightweight prospect. It is, of course, Mr. Tyler Tomlin. Tyler, welcome to the show, my friend.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
Hey, it's absolutely my pleasure. It really is. From London to Tennessee. So, Tyler, first off, tell me, myself, and the listeners a little bit about yourself, just for those that may not know.
Yeah, of course. I've grown up in Cheatham County, Tennessee, right outside of Nashville, Tennessee. I'm 21 years old. I'm signed to Lou DiBella and DiBella Entertainment. I'm 11-0 right now with 7 knockouts and look to keep on climbing here shortly.
And I want to ask you this as well. Obviously, you've got the nickname Short Fuse. Do you have a particularly short fuse?
Definitely do have a short fuse. I'm not sure if you've ever seen me fight, but it definitely comes into play, sometimes not for the better. But that's something that actually came around when I was an amateur. Fighting in some amateur tournaments and everything else. Anytime I get hit with a really good punch, you'd always get the same reaction, and that short fuse would come out. And I'd say it's happened in my pro career as well. I've had a couple dirty fighters that kind of set off the short fuse, but slowly but surely I'm trying to lengthen the fuse a little bit, sit back and use some of my boxing skills, and then when the time comes, let that fuse get lit.
Hey, I love that. That's an excellent way to answer the question. I want to ask you this as well. Obviously, in the amateurs, I know you've been in there with the likes of, some brilliant prospects like Lorenzo Simpson. I know you've been in with him. What are the other names that you boxed in the amateurs that we may have heard of, the bigger names?
Oh, man, I fought Omar Juarez, Lorenzo Simpson, like you had mentioned, Kashad Elliott. There's just a number of guys that Leon Lawson was one of them, another PBC guy. But fighting those guys in the amateurs, you get all that experience. We're all top-level guys, and we might not get to fight each other while, into our careers when we're pros. So it's just great to get that experience when you're an amateur.
And not only that, but I'm sure since turning pro, you must have shared some rounds again with some bigger name guys. Is there any names that you've sparred with, the bigger names?
Oh yeah, definitely. We're looking to do a lot more of that here soon too. I know we have a trip to Vegas planned to go with some top guys out there. But I flew out to Houston with Bobby Benton's gym, sparring guys like Austin Trout and Shaquille Foster. Guys like that, and a guy in my hometown named Austin Dulé. He's about to have a big fight coming up. I know he's in Atlanta right now, and training camp down there. But we get some good rounds in, and like I said, in July we'll have some great sparring coming up. I'm really excited for that.
Fantastic to hear. Brilliant. Yeah, I remember Austin Trout. I think he was the first world champion I ever interviewed back in, long time ago now. Anyways,
yeah, we got some great rounds in. I think we went 8 rounds down in Houston, so that was great.
Excellent, man. But back onto yourself, like you say, you've got to 11-0, 7 KOs. You've recently signed with Lou DiBella. I know you fought on his show last time out. I'm guessing you believe he's the right man to take your career to that next level, Tyler.
Yeah, I do. We had some great conversations beforehand, and that's what eventually led to us signing with him, of course. He wants to move me at the right speed, which I think is an important thing. Some young fighters just want it all right now, but being a prospect, I know I've got a lot of things to work on. I'm in the gym every day working on those. I've got everything it takes to be a world champion, but I just need to continue to sharpen my skills, and Lou knows that. So we're going to move at the right speed and eventually get to that title shot.
No, I quite like the partnership because, like I say, I'm a fan of Lou DiBella. I think some people, obviously, some people they don't like him. He's a straight shooter, though. He tells it how it is.
Yeah.
I like that about him. You've got to like an honest man. You've got to be probably one of the most active fighters in 2021. You've already had 3 fights this year, Tyler. I'm guessing you like that activity.
Oh, my gosh, yes. We've been extremely active since we first started, 11 fights in just over 2 years. That's with COVID. So we had about a 6-month layoff there, and then the next 6 months after that, I think I fought 5 times in that 6 or 7 month period, which with COVID, we just took every opportunity we could after that to fight. And a lot of fighters can't say the same. You know, they have 6 months to a year layoffs, haven't had a single fight, and here I am fighting 5 times in that period. So being active is definitely something that we've been on top of.
Yeah, 5 fights in 2020 and 3 already in 2021. Any idea on when your next fight will be just yet, Tyler?
Well, we're still trying to figure that out with Lou. There have been a couple of dates bounced around, a couple of different locations, but most of the dates have been in August. So I've had a little time to rest. I know rest for a boxer isn't necessarily resting. I just did 16 rounds on Sunday, but we're not exactly in training camp yet. But we'll be ready to go, as always. If my phone rings and they want me to fight in 2 weeks, I'll be ready to go. But it looks like August is going to be the month.
Okay, August, okay. And I want to ask you this as well, because, you know, America's such a huge place. The United States, you got, you know, guys all over the place in all different states. They've got great fighters. Do you kind of have like an ambition of maybe where you want to fight? Do you want to, like, I don't know, sell out a stadium one day in Tennessee? Do you want to top a bill one day in Las Vegas? Do you want to fight at Madison Square Garden? What is like the biggest dream of yours to fight? Where is the biggest dream of yours to fight at?
Well, I would say Bridgestone Arena right here in Nashville, but I did get the opportunity to fight there already. So the next big one for us is going to be MGM. That's something me and my dad have talked about for a long time. If I could get to the MGM and sell that out, that would just be a dream come true.
Yeah, amazing. And that fight that you mentioned there, where you fought with the Bridgestone, that was on the Plant Feigenbutz undercard?
Yes, it was. And Caleb looks like he's going to get that Canelo fight, which is great for him. That's somebody we actually worked with when I was very young, him and his father. So that was great to fight on such a stage together. Yeah, absolutely. Caleb been on the show a couple of times. Real cool guy. I want to ask you this as well. Is there anyone that you look up to? Sometimes fighters like to say, no, I don't look up to anyone. You know, I'm my own man. But is there anyone that you feel you look up to? Oh, my goodness. There's just so many guys right now that have such high-level boxing. Obviously, Caleb being one of them. Having that relation, then maybe like a Tyson Fury, just guys that are such amazing people at the same time. Terrence Crawford, Manny Pacquiao, he's been doing it forever, and the fight he's got coming up with Earl Spence. Just any of the top-level boxers right now, I watch everything they do because I have no ego about it. You know, I'm always trying to pick up new things. Me and my father both. So we watch everybody, look up to everybody, and it helps us improve our game by doing that.
Yeah, and it's a way to stay grounded. It's a way to remain, humble, not get ahead of yourself, which is obviously very important at this stage. I want to put you on the spot a little bit now for this next question. It's a question that we like to ask. We like to ask everyone from overseas, Tyler. You let it slip there that you like Tyson Fury, so this might be an easy question for you, but who is your favorite UK fighter of all time? It can be a guy that retired 100 years ago. You make the rules. Who springs to mind?
Oh, definitely Tyson Fury being one of the most recent ones.
Yeah.
Isn't Josh Taylor from over there?
Yes, sir.
He's a guy in
yes, sir.
my weight class. Josh Taylor is a guy that looked great in his last fight. Really look up to him. And Hatton's from over there. I know his son is climbing the ranks right now, which is cool to watch.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Real popular answers. Obviously, a lot of people say, the likes of Hatton and, Tyson Fury.
Yeah.
A lot of people, he's like Marmite. People love him, people hate him. And, Josh Taylor, another, probably one of our best fighters right now from the UK.
Oh, yeah. Pound for pound guy, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think he's definitely, he can throw his name in that hat now with that most recent win.
Mm-hmm.
And just finally, Tyler, before we wrap it up, if you've got any closing words, in particular to the UK people that will be listening to this, if you've got any closing words, and also do not forget to give out your social media handles. Where can people follow you?
Yeah, you can follow me on Facebook, of course, at my athlete page, Tyler Shortfuse Tomlin. My Instagram and my Twitter both are _Ty Tomlin. And just a huge shout out to all the UK fans and, of course, you for having me on. It's a pleasure to talk to you and continue to maybe build that fan base in the UK. Hopefully one day I'll get to fight over there. I'd love to actually go there in person and see some of y'all.
Absolutely. We'd love to see you fight over here, I'm sure. And it's great to make the connection with you for sure. But listen, Tyler, it's been a real pleasure speaking with you. I truly mean that. Thank you for your time, and I'm sure we'll speak again soon.
Absolutely. Let's do it again soon. Thank you so much, Joey.
Okay, and this wraps up episode 295 of the BoxHard Podcast. I've been your host, Joey Coastman. Eddie Chambers has been with me for the duration of the show. A massive thank you to our two guests on this week's podcast, the reigning and undefeated WBA Super-Lightweight World Champion Mario Barrios and the undefeated lightweight prospect Mr. Tyler Tomlin. The biggest thanks of all, though, goes out to you, the listeners. There has been one or two pieces of news break whilst we've been recording the show. MTK Global have announced a card that they're putting together for June 25th in Bolton. That card, by the way, will feature some great fights. I really like what they're doing here. The first fight I'm going to talk about is Jay Harris against his opponent, Ricardo Sandoval, who's 18-1. That's an IBF flyweight title eliminator. Obviously, the winner will be in line to take on the champion, Sonny Edwards. Elsewhere on the card, we get to see Hosea Burton against Liam Conroy. We get to see Paul Butler against Joseph Agbeko. And also on the card, a few other names, Jordan Reynolds, Gary Cully, Tyrone McCulloch, Inda Bassi, which I believe is the Muslim fighter trained under Amir Khan or somewhat mentored by Amir Khan. That's it for that one. And the other piece of news that I have is that Eddie Hearn has announced that he'll be partnering up with Canelo and Canelo's trainer Eddie Reynoso to promote fights in Mexico. The first of 4 events that they'll be putting on will be Julio Cesar Martinez defending his WBC flyweight crown against Joel Cordova. That's going to be on June 26th. The other events will be announced in due time. But that's about everything from myself. Enjoy your weekends, people. Stay safe, and we shall see you all again next week.